You run your fingers across the top of your head and you feel it. The hair is thinner there than it used to be. Not gone, but thinner. You can feel the scalp through the strands in a way you never could 10 years ago. You try a volumizing shampoo. You try a thickening spray. You try a supplement you found online. Nothing changes. The part keeps widening. The light keeps catching your scalp. And eventually you start to wonder whether the thinning is something you just have to accept. The price of turning 60, a part of the body shutting down that no product can reach. I am Dr. Andrew Lee, and I have spent my career studying how natural compounds interact with the body's internal systems, including the systems that grow, maintain, and protect your hair. Today, I want to challenge the idea that thinning hair after 60 is untreatable. There is an oil, extracted from a common herb, that has been clinically tested head-to-head against the most widely prescribed hair loss treatment in the world, and it performed just as well. This oil blocks DHT and supports regrowth, and it costs a fraction of what pharmaceutical treatments cost. The science behind it is not theoretical. It is published, peer-reviewed, and remarkably compelling. Let us start with the biology, because once you understand the engine of hair loss after 60, the oil makes perfect sense. Your hair grows from a structure called the follicle. At the base of every follicle sits the dermal papilla, a cluster of cells that acts as the command center for hair growth. The papilla receives oxygen, nutrients, and hormonal signals from the blood supply, and it uses those signals to determine how thick the hair grows, how long the growth phase lasts, and when the follicle enters the resting phase. In a healthy follicle, the growth phase, called anagen, can last 2 to 6 years. The hair grows thick and strong during this period. Then the follicle rests, sheds the hair, and begins a new cycle. But after 50, a hormone called dihydrotestosterone, or DHT, begins to disrupt this cycle in people who are genetically susceptible. DHT is produced when an enzyme called 5-alpha reductase converts testosterone into its more potent form. DHT binds to receptors on the dermal papilla and sends a signal that causes the follicle to shrink. Each successive growth cycle produces a thinner, shorter, weaker hair. The anagen phase compresses from years to months. Eventually, the follicle produces only a fine, nearly invisible vellus hair, and then nothing at all. This process is called miniaturization, and it is the primary driver of pattern hair loss in both men and women. Think of it like a river being slowly dammed. The water does not stop all at once. First it slows to a stream, then a trickle, then a drip. DHT is the dam, and the question is whether anything can remove it without the side effects that come with pharmaceutical intervention. The oil is rosemary oil, specifically the essential oil extracted from Rosmarinus officinalis, and the clinical evidence supporting it is stronger than for any other natural compound tested for hair loss. A landmark randomized controlled trial published in the journal SkinMed in 2015 compared rosemary oil applied topically against 2% minoxidil, the most commonly prescribed topical treatment for hair loss, over a period of 6 months. The results were striking. Both groups showed a statistically significant increase in hair count at the end of the trial. There was no significant difference between the two groups. Rosemary oil performed as well as minoxidil. And critically, the rosemary oil group reported significantly less scalp itching, which is one of the most common reasons people abandon minoxidil treatment. So how does rosemary oil actually work? The mechanism involves 3 distinct pathways, and understanding all 3 is what makes the difference between using this oil effectively and wasting it. The first pathway is DHT inhibition. Rosemary oil contains a compound called carnosic acid, which has been shown in laboratory studies to inhibit 5-alpha reductase, the enzyme that converts testosterone into DHT. A study published in the journal Phytotherapy Research found that carnosic acid significantly reduced enzyme activity in a dose-dependent manner. By lowering local DHT concentration around the follicle, carnosic acid helps prevent the miniaturization signal from reaching the dermal papilla. The follicle stops shrinking. The dam begins to thin. The second pathway is improved blood circulation. Rosemary oil is a vasodilator. When applied to the scalp, it increases blood flow to the follicles by widening the capillaries that feed the dermal papilla. This is actually the same mechanism that minoxidil uses, which explains why the two perform similarly in the clinical trial. Better blood flow means more oxygen and more nutrients reaching the follicle per minute. The growth engine receives more fuel. Research published in the International Journal of Neuroscience confirmed that rosemary oil increased peripheral blood flow within minutes of topical application, suggesting a rapid and direct vascular effect. The third pathway is anti-inflammatory and antioxidant protection. Rosemary oil is rich in rosmarinic acid, ursolic acid, and additional polyphenolic compounds that have been extensively studied for their anti-inflammatory properties. Chronic scalp inflammation is a secondary driver of hair loss that rarely gets the attention it deserves. Inflamed follicles cannot cycle normally. The growth phase shortens, the follicle environment deteriorates, and each new hair is weaker than the last. Rosmarinic acid helps calm this inflammatory environment, clearing the way for the other two pathways to work effectively. Think of it as 3 interventions in one bottle. Carnosic acid removes the dam, the vasodilation increases the water flow, and rosmarinic acid clears the debris from the channel. All 3 must work together for the follicle to recover. But here is the trick that determines whether rosemary oil works for you or becomes just another product that disappoints. The application method matters enormously, and most people get it wrong. Rosemary essential oil is highly concentrated. It must be diluted in a carrier oil before it touches your scalp. A concentration of 2 to 3% is the effective range used in the clinical trials. That means approximately 5 to 7 drops of rosemary essential oil per tablespoon of carrier oil. The best carrier oils for hair health are jojoba oil, which closely mimics the natural sebum of your scalp, and cold-pressed castor oil, which is rich in ricinoleic acid that supports scalp circulation independently. Mix them in equal parts and add your rosemary drops. Apply the mixture directly to the areas of thinning, not to the entire head. Use your fingertips to massage it into the scalp for 2 full minutes in gentle circular motions. The massage itself increases blood flow and helps the compounds penetrate the skin barrier. Leave it on for a minimum of 30 minutes. Many people find it easiest to apply at night and wash out in the morning. The second mistake is inconsistency. The clinical trial that showed results equal to minoxidil ran for 6 months with daily application. This is not a weekend experiment. The follicle needs sustained exposure to the compounds to reverse the miniaturization process. DHT does not take days off, and neither can your treatment. Apply the oil every single day, at the same time, without interruption, for at least 6 months before evaluating results. The third mistake is buying the wrong type of rosemary oil. You need 100% pure rosemary essential oil, not rosemary-infused cooking oil, not rosemary fragrance oil, not rosemary extract diluted in a base. The label should say Rosmarinus officinalis, and it should be steam distilled. If it does not specify this, it may not contain the carnosic acid and rosmarinic acid concentrations needed for the therapeutic effect. Now, I want to pause for a moment because I think this is a good place to share something that goes beyond just the oil itself. You see, applying rosemary oil to your scalp is a powerful external intervention, but the follicle is also fed from the inside through your bloodstream. If you are not providing the internal nutrients the follicle needs, zinc for cell division, iron for oxygen delivery, B12 for the methylation cycle, omega-3s for inflammation, then the oil is fighting with one hand tied behind its back. The real transformation happens when you combine the topical treatment with a structured nutritional approach that supports the follicle from both directions simultaneously. And if you are interested in going deeper on this, I have put together a full protocol that I follow myself. It covers the exact oil blend, the application technique, the dietary framework, and the habits that amplify the results. I left the details in the pinned comment below this video. It is something I think you will find very practical if you are serious about seeing measurable improvement. Let us return to the science. There are several supporting compounds that amplify the effectiveness of rosemary oil when used alongside it. Peppermint oil, at a 1% concentration, has been shown in a study published in Toxicological Research to promote hair growth by increasing the depth and number of follicles in the anagen phase. Adding 2 to 3 drops of peppermint oil to your rosemary blend creates a complementary vasodilatory effect. Saw palmetto extract, taken as an oral supplement, provides an internal DHT blocking layer that works alongside the topical carnosic acid. And green tea, consumed daily, delivers EGCG, which has been shown to inhibit 5-alpha reductase through yet another molecular pathway. Now, let me give you a practical example of how this looks in a complete daily routine. In the morning, drink a cup of green tea. For breakfast, 2 whole pasture-raised eggs with sautéed spinach and a squeeze of lemon. For lunch, grilled salmon with mixed greens, cherry tomatoes, and pumpkin seeds. In the evening, apply your rosemary oil blend to the thinning areas, massage for 2 minutes, and leave it on overnight. For dinner, a light meal with steamed vegetables, and take a saw palmetto supplement with food. That day delivers carnosic acid and rosmarinic acid topically, EGCG orally from the green tea, saw palmetto as an internal DHT blocker, omega-3s from the salmon, zinc from the pumpkin seeds, iron from the spinach with vitamin C for absorption, and biotin from the egg yolks. The follicle is being supported from the outside and the inside simultaneously. The beauty of this approach is that it does not just benefit your hair. The same anti-inflammatory compounds in rosemary oil that protect the follicle also support cognitive function. Research published in the journal Psychogeriatrics found that rosemary aromatherapy improved cognitive performance in older adults. The same omega-3s that reduce scalp inflammation also protect your cardiovascular system. You are not solving a cosmetic problem in isolation. You are building a comprehensive health routine, and the thicker hair is the most visible proof that it is working. I want to be clear about expectations. The clinical trial showed significant results at 6 months. Hair grows approximately ½ an inch per month. If you start this protocol today, you will not see dramatic changes in 2 weeks. What you will notice first, usually within the first month, is reduced shedding. The hair that was falling out at an accelerated rate begins to stabilize. By month 3, many people notice that new growth feels thicker and stronger. By month 6, visible improvement in density is common, particularly in the areas where thinning was most pronounced. This timeline is not a marketing promise. It is the timeline from the published clinical trial. The biology requires patience, and the evidence rewards consistency. Before I close, I want to revisit something I mentioned earlier. If you found this information useful, and you want the complete step-by-step guide with the exact oil blend recipe, the carrier oil ratios, the massage technique, the dietary pairings, and the 3 lifestyle habits that accelerate recovery, I have compiled everything into a resource that I use personally. You can find that in the pinned comment below this video. I put it there because I know how easy it is to buy the oil, use it for a week, and then forget. That resource gives you the daily structure that turns a good idea into a lasting habit. As a final note, I want to remind you that this information is for educational purposes and is based on the current body of scientific research. Everyone's body is different. If you are experiencing significant or sudden hair loss, it is important to consult with a qualified healthcare professional to rule out underlying conditions like thyroid disorders, iron deficiency anemia, or autoimmune conditions. Rosemary oil can cause skin irritation in some people, so always perform a patch test on a small area of skin before applying it to your scalp. And if you are currently using any prescribed medication for hair loss, do not stop or change your treatment without speaking to your doctor first. Thank you for watching. I hope this gives you a reason to look at that bottle of rosemary oil on the shelf with entirely new eyes. The next time you run your fingers across the top of your head and feel the thinning, remember that the follicle underneath is not dead. It is waiting. And the compound it needs to wake up may already be growing in your garden.